What's going on, Ravens fans? It's your host, Santino Maione of the Ravens Rundown. We are brought to you, as always, by Prize Picks, and we're coming at you from the at-home setup. We do this every now and then. When I'm out of the office, still got to get a video in for you guys. And the Baltimore Ravens, they have some roster news that we're about to get into here. The other day, they waived inside linebacker Reed Williford, which now brings their roster down to 89 players. So the Baltimore Ravens are slowly but surely, as Sunday approaches, because Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is the deadline when all of the NFL teams have to whittle this roster down to the final 53-man roster. And the Ravens are slowly getting there. We have, I did a video earlier this week about some position battles, also just some general roster updates that are coming in from the practices, joint practices as well, of players that are standing out, of players that the Ravens feel could be vital key pieces to the roster, whether that be in a starting capacity or as a backup in a reserve. And, the cornerback position is one I definitely think we're going to see at least, I think, 6 kept. My opinion, probably 7, just because of how good some of the backups and reserves have looked, not even just in practice, but in the preseason games as well. I think back to Keon Martin, who looked phenomenal in week 1 of the preseason against the Philadelphia Eagles. A safety like DeAndre Jackson has looked very good as well, but specifically the cornerbacks, even Chandler Rivers, the 7th-round pick out of Duke as well. There have been a lot of CBs outside of the main guys that have really shown up and shown out, and that could lead to an extra, maybe even 2 extra corners being kept on this Ravens roster. The offensive line is something else to watch out for as well, on top of what they do at the running back position, whether they end up keeping 3 or 4. I've updated you guys on the status of Ravens defensive tackle Nnamdi Madubuike, who is yet to participate in a team drill throughout the entirety of the offseason, throughout training camp right now. And he is somebody who just hit the defensive tackle sled for the first time 2 or 3 days ago. So there's a risk of him not being ready for week 1. He'll start the season on the PUP list, not on the official roster, and then won't be available until week 5 against week 5 against the Atlanta Falcons. So there is somewhat of a, I guess you could say, some question marks surrounding this roster still as we get into the final preseason game, which is tomorrow against the Washington Commanders. That'll be 6 o'clock Dallas time, of course, where I'm coming at you from, but 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Week 3, the final preseason game against the Washington Commanders. We will be live for that game, so make sure you lock us in, subscribe, turn on those notification bells so you know when your favorite channel, the Ravens Rundown, is going live. Now, one of the things I want to get into here is the offense specifically. It's my biggest thing that I'm looking for in this preseason game against the Commanders because we've seen what the defense has been capable of. Defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver and the new head coach Jesse Minter have this defense clicking on all cylinders right now. Now, of course, nobody's perfect. The defense hasn't been perfect, but they have looked really good, holding in the first 2 preseason games both opponents, Eagles and Vikings, to a combined 10 points across those 2 games. So that bodes really well. Obviously, majority of starters aren't playing. Of course, we know that. Really, none of the starters have been playing that much. But still, it goes to show me that the players that are on the roster, at least the extended roster right now, shows me that they're hearing what Jesse Minter's saying. They're applying what Jesse Minter is preaching to this defense. And so I'm not worried about that. But the offense, that's where, there have been some questions. There have been mixed reviews from Ravens insiders who have been at these joint practices, who have been at these training camp practices, kind of, again, expressing mixed opinions. Some saying the offense is starting to look sharper, while others feel really hasn't looked that sharp at all, that there's still growing pains and struggles occurring with the new offensive coordinator, Declan Doyle, who, of course, joined the team this offseason, coming over from the Chicago Bears last year. And I want to give you some of my extended opinion on it because I've talked about the offense and how repeatedly I've said this. I'm not super concerned. I'm not super worried because when I took over this channel about a month ago, one of the first things I said was I expected this team, the offense at least, to get off to a little bit of a slower start with a new offensive coordinator. It's a new system. There are new players on this offense. That's going to happen. That's to be expected, and I don't think it should be any big cause for concern. We're going to get into more extended views on what I have to say about the Ravens offense heading into this preseason game and in the regular season. Before we do that, though, I got to tell you about the wonderful sponsors of today's show. Those are our great friends over at Prize Picks. Guys, Prize Picks is America's #1 sports picks app for your daily fantasy sports. And while you're watching sports, it's a chance to make money. And their new user offer gives you a great chance to make money, because when you download the Prize Picks app today and you use code HMA, play that first $5 lineup. If it wins, you get $150 in bonus lineups. Guys, Prize Picks, like I said, America's #1 sports picks app. Player picks, they're on fire right now. That's the way to go with Prize Picks, and there's no better place to cash in while watching sports than with Prize Picks. And you can make lineups super easily. You just pick more or less on a few player stats, and you lock in your lineup. And you see the lineup photo I have on screen. It's a more or less season-long projection for the upcoming football season. Derrick Henry, your very own Ravens running back, the more on his rushing yards. I have the more on Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs' rushing yards as well. That is a $20 lineup to win $120. Guys, and if you don't like that lineup, that's fine. Just make sure you play your own lineup. If you don't want to tail that one, you can play your first $5 lineup by using code HMA. And if you win that lineup, you get $150 in bonus lineups. One more time, for a chance to get $150 in bonus lineups, make sure you download the Prize Picks app, use code HMA before playing that first $5 lineup. Guys, thank you so much to Prize Picks for sponsoring this edition of the Ravens Rundown. Getting back into the offense and, Lamar Jackson and kind of how he feels about the offense as a whole, and his, I guess you could say, like, how he's felt adjusting to it, because it has been a little bit different for him, right? And it's been different for everybody, because Declan Doyle is a very big stickler for the details, which is a great thing. I'm not saying that in a bad way. I want an offensive coordinator who is going to harp on every little detail, is going to harp on making sure that every player on this offense knows what's going on, is locked in to all the details that matter and that come through in having a successful offense. And again, like I said, there have been some struggles. Like, Lamar at times has looked a bit inconsistent in training camp, but the most recent joint practice against the Commanders that occurred yesterday, there were flashes in that practice suggesting that us as Ravens fans and the Ravens as a team should feel confident in what this offense can do in 2026. And obviously, again, we know the defense is the bigger concern from last year. That's really what speaking for Ravens fans, I think that's what you guys have wanted to see improve. That's really what was the big focus. Obviously, the offense could have been better. It was lackluster at times last season. But ultimately, there was a play yesterday that I'll harp on specifically. Lamar Jackson had a nice pass over the middle to Devontae Walker, a little deep ball that went for a 62-yard, would have been touchdown if it was in an actual game. But plays like that, getting completions to Mark Andrews. Rashad Bateman has looked very good in both one-on-one drills, 7-on-7, and 11-on-11 drills when you combine joint practices and regular practices. He's looked very good. We know how good Jacoby Lane has looked, right? Ultimately, I think that the flashes and the positive takeaways that we've heard from insiders like Jeff Zrebiec, those are enough to instill confidence. Lamar Jackson has talked about how he feels guys are starting to buy in. They're starting to understand things a little bit more. You're seeing some more congruent plays be stacked together, play after play. It's not just like, every once in a while a one-off nice play and then a stretch of terrible plays, a slew of drops, things like that. We're not seeing that. We're seeing consistent plays being made one after another. And that, to me, gives confidence. Now, obviously, I want to continue to see the offense be even better in these preseason games against the Commanders, right? Like, this week, I think the biggest thing they can improve on from the Vikings game is being able to consistently move the ball down the field. Don't, suffer a lot of those 3-and-outs, right? And a lot of that comes with the play calling, but also making sure that they're understanding what's going on, making sure that they're implementing what Declan Doyle is providing for them to be able to succeed. That's what the Ravens have to do in this game. And ultimately, it is preseason, right? They're already 2-0 here. I don't think anything will happen in this preseason game one way or the other that will make me lose my mind and think that we're screwed either way. Like, that's not what we're looking at for this preseason game. But I want to continue to see improvement. And I think one of those ways to see improvement is not suffering so many 3-and-outs and being able to consistently just keep moving that ball down the field, keep making plays both in the run game and in the pass game. Obviously, we're going to see Joe Fagnano and Austin Reed for the majority of this game. Huntley will usually play like half the quarter, maybe the first quarter, couple of drives. We don't see him for too long. Fagnano plays the majority, and then we get that new UFL signing the Ravens made a couple weeks ago, Austin Reed for a little bit. So, and of course, it all depends on how the game is going as well. But even though it's the backup quarterbacks, even though it's other receivers that will not make the roster, like an Xavier Guillory, like a Chris Moore, like an Octavius Johnson, things like that, Cornelius Johnson, I should say, like those are guys that are not going to make the roster. But at the end of the day, it's still important to see the offense working in the way that we want to see it working. Like I said, again, we're going to be live for that Commanders game, doing another watch party that I know you guys love. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Lock us in for that watch party. Turn the notifications on so you don't miss a thing. Don't miss a moment of it. And listen, Flock Nation, you know I love bringing you these videos. I love talking to you guys every single day, talking with you guys in the comments every single day. And I'll see you boys, see you guys in the next one.